Assalamu alaikum class. Today we are going to learn about pseudocode and why it's so useful when writing computer program. So before we start writing any code, so often begin with something called pseudocode, programming and pseudocode. Before we write a computer program, we often use pseudocode. Pseudocode is a simple way to describe the steps of an algorithm using plain language. It helps us plan our program before we start coding. Think of it as a blueprint of your program. This means that pseudocode is a simple way to describe the steps of an algorithm using plain language. It does not use any programming language syntax so anyone can understand. Even if they are not familiar with coding, you can think of pseudocode as a blueprint for your program. But why do we need pseudocode? Why not just start coding right away? Well, pseudocode helps us organize our thoughts and plan out the logic of our program before we actually start writing code. This way, we can focus on what we want the program to do, not worry about syntax errors or languages. Since we have already learned about Scratch and Python, Scratch is a visual programming, block based programming, whereas Python is a text based programming. In Scratch, we use drag and drop block. In Python, we write a code using commands. It is used in games and animation, whereas Python used in web development and data analysis. As we have discussed Python and its command in class, now we have focused on Scratch. How to make a program interface and how to use arithmetic operator. We already talked about the interface. Interface interact the user with the program. It's like creating the button and screen you see in a game or app. Whereas arithmetic operator is a symbols and a symbol that is used to perform mathematical operation in our program. To solve any problem, it's important to make a plan. Here are some methods used in computational thinking to make a plan. First one is decomposition. Break down the problems into smaller parts. The second is abstraction. Focus on the necessary information and ignore the irrelevant information. The third is algorithm. Algorithm is to create a step-by-step solution. There are different ways to represent algorithm. First is flowchart. A flowchart is a diagram that shows the steps of an algorithm. It means it is a graphical representation of the steps in algorithm, and you may call it a picture form of algorithm step is called flowchart. The second is structure English. Structure English, writing the steps in simple English. It's mean you may like writing down the steps in English, but in a way that is structured for easy understanding. The third concept is pseudocode. Pseudocode is a way to write down the logic of an algorithm without worrying about programming syntax. Pseudocode is a way to write down the steps of program or a solution in plain simple language without worrying about the exact code or syntax. Scratch. It uses colorful block instead of typing code, so it is easy to understand. You can make a character move, talk, and interact with each other. Scratch make learning coding fun and creative. Now, arithmetic operator. Arithmetic operator in programming. It is used to perform calculation in a program. They include addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Creating an interface in Scratch. Scratch is a fun way to create colorful interfaces. It uses sprite, which are character or object on the screen, to interact with the user. Sprite can be used for both input and output. We have already discussed about the variable in programming. A variable is a name for a memory location where we can store a value. In Scratch, there's a ready-made variable called answer that you can use. Steps to create a program. First of all, you make a variable, set the value of the variable, use the ask block for program input, use operator to add and join values, use the say block to program output. Class, I hope you will learn about the concept today we discuss. Okay, class, Allah Hafiz.